So we're on Daf Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Beis, on the third of the wide lines. Amar Rab Yochanan ben Nuri. So the Mishnah had already established that if a Pikeach marries a Pikachas, which is Nesuin Doraisa, and then she becomes a Chereshes, the Baal could nevertheless be Magarisha. And the reason for that is that even though she's not a Bas Das, but nevertheless Gerushin doesn't require Hadas, and a man could divorce his wife Baal Korcha. But if the Baal became a Cheresh after Kiddushin, he cannot be Magarisha, because there's no Gerushin without Das, and a Cheresh is not a Bar Das. Amar Rab Yochanan ben Nuri, Mipnei ma ha'isha shenischar sheyotza va'isha nischar she'ena motza. Rab Yochanan ben Nuri sees an inconsistency here. You have to be consistent. If you're telling me that he could divorce her without her das when she's a chereshes, then you should allow and validate his gerushin when he's a cheresh. If on the other hand you invalidate his gerushin when he's a cheresh, because cheresh is la bar das, then how could you validate the get when she became a chereshes? The Gemara raises the following suffix: how to understand Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Ish shitale. The isha kami boile. He never had doubts about the principle that a man who became a cheresh is incapable of divorcing his wife. There wasn't even a thought otherwise. We're never going to consider in this tzad of Pshitale the possibility that a cheresh is a bardas. He's not a bardas, period. He'll never become a bardas. We'll never decide that on any particular day he had a good day and therefore he's a bardas. No. He's excluded. We'll call it psul gavra, and he's a cheresh. But the problem that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was facing was Isha. She became a chereshes. And why did the Chacham say that she could receive a get? She's not a bastas. If the Baal can't be Megarish, if he's a cheresh, because he's a la bardas, then according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, the Isha who became a chereshes, a la bastas, she cannot be miskareshes. So that's one side. O Dilma, or maybe we could reinterpret Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's argument against the Chachamim by saying Isha pshitale. He understood 100% clearly, without any doubt, that when she became a chereshes, there's no reason why she shouldn't be able to receive a get, even if she doesn't have das. So what then was Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's gripe against the Chacham? What was the axe to grind? The ish kami boile. He wasn't sure why a man is not capable of giving a get, even if shalom midas, even if he's a cheresh, just like an isha is miskaresha shalom midaita, and that didn't bother Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri at all. So if isha miskaresha shalom midaita, then each should be megari shalom midaita. So now it comes out, according to the second possible interpretation of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was the makil. Right? He wanted to upgrade the status of a cheresh possibly to that of a megarish, based on the fact that the isha chereshes is miskareshes and ish cheresh should be megarish. Tashma midika amrule. Let's look at the response of the Chachamim to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Eino doma isha megarish le isha hamiskareshes isha yotza lertzona v'shelo lertzona. But isha nemotzia lertzona shma mina ish kami boile. So what was the response to the Chachamim? You cannot compare the status of a chereshes to the status of a cheresh, because in the case of an isha miskareshes, even shalol tzona bal karcha, she's miskareshes. We don't need her das at all, and if she's a chereshes, the get should be valid. But an ish, he cannot be megarish bal karcha. There's no such din. The critical precondition of a man to be divorced his wife is that he has to have ratzon and das. So from the fact that the Chachamim responded to the argument of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri that Ish is not domeli Isha, it would seem that they are coming to explain the reason why Ein Ish Megarish, even Shalom Idaitim. Ish Kami Boile. The problem that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was grappling with, was the psul, the disqualification of the get of a cheresh. Why can't he divorce when it was pshita that as far as an isha is concerned, who became a chereshes, yecholol is garish? So the Gemara asks the following kasha: Adarabah. I would prove for the mission just the opposite. Midaka amrulei af zo kayotze ba. From the fact that the Chachamim said to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri those words, Af zu kayotze ba, that even if she became a chereshes, he could still be motzi beget. Like that chereshes that was married off by her father with a kedusha with Doraisa, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgida testified that she goes out beget. So from the fact that they needed to invoke Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's testimony, it seems that the entire focus of the discussion back and forth between Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Chachamim was about her status. Isha kami boile. It was about the Isha that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was vacillating in his question as to why she's miskareshes. And that's why the Chachamim invoked the testimony of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgida to prove that if a woman, even if she's now a chereshes, she could be miscarried. She could accept her get. So again, the Chachamim are bringing the edus of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgida to prove that a woman could be miskareshes, even if she's a chereshes. Okay, now you've proven that she could be miskareshes. What do you gain from that? It would seem that what you gain from that is that as far as Ish is concerned, in other words, there was never an issue about the Ish. The whole issue was about the Isha. So that your tashma to prove that each kami boile, and the whole issue is why you exclude the get of a cheresh, that's not true. Because from the fact that the Rabbanan answered Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri by saying afzu kayotze bazeh, it means that zu, the Isha, is miskareshes. And the question was about the Isha. Why is she miskareshes when she has no das? And that's where the Rabbanan invoked the testimony of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgida to prove that even though a woman is now a chereshes, nevertheless, she's miskareshes. So it's very strange. The Reisha seems to indicate, says the Gemara, that there was something about the Ish. And that was the question that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was focusing his attention on. But the Seifa, it's absolutely clear that the issue was about the Isha. So how do we reconcile this whole thing? That's what the Gemara is going to do now with the word Ella. So we're going to say the following. He offers a little bit of an introduction to the Ella. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri holds lahachmir, that a woman needs das to be miskareshes. The Eina Yechol is garish shalomi daita. So what do the Chacham respond to Rabbi Yochanan? What about an Ish? An Ish cannot be Megarish's wife if he's a Cherish. So that was a response to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who asked them, well, why can't the Ish be Megarish Shalom Idaita? Not that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri actually held that an Ish could be Megarish Shalom Idaita. He held right again. So the question was why an Ish is excluded from being Megarish. And keep in mind that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri holds that a woman also needs das. How much more so does he need das? So it wasn't that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, when he was asking the kasha to the Rabbanan, he held that in each could be Megarish Bal Korach, meaning, or I shouldn't say Bal Korach, but as a Cherish without das. For sure that's out of the question, because Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri held that even she cannot be Miskaresh if she's a Cherish. But rather, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri l'divrayim ka'amar lahu. He was standing on the turf of the Chachamim. According to you, Chachamim, that an Isha's Miskareshes Shalomidas, why can't the Baal be Megarish Shalomidas? Lididi, according to my opinion, Ki Hechi to Ish Lomotzi Megarish, Isha Nami Lo Megarish. I'm not going to accept the license and the validity of a Chereshes to be Miskareshes. We need Hadas. That is the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. According to your Shita, that a Chereshes could be Miskareshes is Maishna Isha. Well, what's the between Isha and Ish? Amrulei, and they answered the Rabbanan Ein Dom Isha Megaresh Isha Miskareshes. In the case of the Isha, we don't need our das. In the case of the Ish, we must have his das. And they prove it from the agency of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgedna. And that's the point, that an Isha doesn't need das. Hey, Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgedna Chereshes V'Siyav V'Yoshi Yotze Beget. Amar Rav may do so. Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgedna. For the fact that he holds that even in Kedushin Gemurin, you don't need das or Ishin Gerishin, is let's derive the following conclusion. Amarli Eid, if he tells two witnesses, and she's not even around, Ba'u get Zeshani no saying law. So he already revealed his das to the Eidim that he intends to give her a divorce. The Amar law, but he tells this woman, his wife, who's a pikachas, Kinsi shtarchov zeh. I want to give you a legal promissory note. So he gives her what she thinks is a shtar. That's what she thinks she's receiving, and a shtarchov, and it turns out to be a get. Harezo migureshes. The get is valid, even though he tricked her, he fooled her. She doesn't know that she's receiving a get. And the proof is Milo, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, good Yudah, lo be'in daita. We don't need a dasa isha begerish. Haraya echereshes is yotza beget, even though she has no das, and even if she's a katana. Here too, if she thinks it's a shtar chov, but it's really a get, she's megureshes because we don't need her das. So what's Rava being mechadish over here? Why is the shtar chov a chiddush? I mean, we just said bal karcha could be megarish without a das. So certainly, if he fooled her into thinking it's a shtar chov, that's also be valid kedushin. Mal the I would have thought me the Amar law kinsi shtar chov zeh is bitulei batle. So there's such a thing as bittul I get. Just not sure exactly. Yeah, the bittul I get before he delivers the get to the Isha, he could be mavatal the get. So we had a havamina that once he tells her this is a shtar chov, that's his way of being mavatal the get. And how does he have a power to be mavatal the get? Since I heard from my Rebbe many years ago, because a get requires lishma. And the Baal creates the lishma. The scribe, the sofer, he's just an extended arm of the Baal. So there's a chalos din of lishma in the get, and once he's mavatal the get, he removes the lishma. Kenobul considered as if it was written on his behalf because he doesn't want it. A mashmalon, this is not considered bittul I get. He said the batleli edim havika amrle. He should have said something to the edim that he's being mavatal what he said to them originally. Re'u get zeshani nosen. Inviting you to be edim on a get that I'm giving her. He didn't mention anything about a balchov, about a shtar chov. So if he would have told the Eidim, hey, listen, my friends, I changed my mind. I'm being mavatal to get. That's one thing. And he could be mavatal to get. But he didn't do anything of the sort. Is v'haidik omer hachi machmas kisufahu de kamal. So we get back to the lashon of kinsi shtarchov zeh. He didn't say areze giteich. So he's trying to cover up for the fact that he's giving her a get. He's embarrassed about the fact that he's divorcing his wife. So he tells her in a way that she won't understand that she's getting a get. Kinsi shtarchov. Okay. Now here we're going to get into a major sugya. which is called Katan Ochel Nevelos, and where the Bezdin is Chayav La'afrisho. So this question actually came up already on Daf Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, I believe. Let me just remind myself. Yeah. So let's see if we can hold on to both Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph and Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Beis at the very end. So on Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, if you take a look, let me just get a. I know it's right in front of my nose here. Just 1 second. Oh, here it is. Now, again, I'm gonna point out the 3 key words here, but then we want to see the Gemara in context. So you're going to count down from the top of Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. The first word is Gzeira. And if you move to the end of that line, you'll see the word Katan, Ochel Nevelos. So those are the 3 words we're going to focus on. Katan, Ochel Nevelos. So we're talking now about a chereshes who gets married to a Kohen who's a cheresh. So again, he's a cheresh, he's a Kohen, and she's a chereshes. And we established, based on Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, that she does not eat truma. That you'll see on the previous line, Ve'ila chereshes lo achlo. So that's a case of a Pikeach Kohen who's married to a chereshes. And she doesn't get to eat truma. Why not? Gzeira shebiyachil cheresh bechereshes. If we'll be matir a Pikeach who married a chereshes to give her truma, then we might come to be matir a cheresh and nasa chereshes to be machil her truma. So Gemara asks v'leichol. In other words, in a case of a chereshes that marries a Pikeach, and again, I don't have to say this over and over again, he's a Kohen, so she's allowed to eat truma. Why? Because it's Nesuin D'Rabbanan. And that's enough to allow her to eat truma. And now we're going to make a gzera that you might come to be matir a cheresh and nasa chereshes. So again, she's a Chereshes. Who is he? If he's a Pikeach, then she should be able to eat Truma. We're not going to allow her to eat Truma in a case where he's a Pikeach because she might come to eat Truma in a case where he's a Cheresh. Now, in both cases, the Nesuin is the Rabbana. So I'm just trying to calculate the. Again, if it's what? A Chereshes doesn't eat Truma. So the Gemara says, what's the reason why a Chereshes doesn't eat Truma? Because of Xera or to Cheresh.
Well, they're making a distinction between Truma Durabanan and Truma Deraisa.
That's going to come a little bit later on. I think at this point, we're not ready for that yet. We're differentiating between a case of a Pikeach Shenasa Chereshes and a Cheresh Shenasa Chereshes. And we're going to prohibit a Chereshes from eating Truma when she's married to a Pikeach because somebody might confuse it and come to the conclusion that even if she's married to a Cheresh, she can eat Truma. So if I understand correctly, in the case of a Pikeach who's a Kohen, he can be machil his wife Truma even if the Kiddushin is the Rabbanon, it doesn't matter because that's called Kinyan Kaspo. But a Cheresh is not capable of Kinyan Kaspo. So even though he's a Kohen and he eats Truma, his wife cannot eat Truma. So let's just see if we can figure out what the Gemara's kash is now. Correct, the Gemara of Alecho. So what if she'll eat Truma? Katan ochel nevelosu. So let's just see the Gemara's answer. Gzeira shema yachil cheresh bepikachas. Oh, I see. So if she's a pikachas, and her marriage to the cheresh is only d'rabbanan, she can't eat truma d'oraisa, she's still a zar. And then you can't say katan ochel nevelos. So it's not a katan ochel nevelos. It's a gedola ochelos nevelos. And then the Gemara is going to raise this distinction you mentioned before, Steve, about truma d'oraisa, truma d'rabbanan. Okay, so I just wanted to see that as an introduction to the Gemara that we want to study now on the bottom of Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Beit. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Bisna so 2 lines up before the end of Kuf Yud Gimel Amid Beis. Irachsu le mafteche de Beit Midrash. Rishus Harab. So on Shabbos, he lost the keys to the Beis Medrash in a public domain. And in a public domain, there's an Iser Molach of Havaras Daled Amos. So we now have a problem. How do we get the Beis Medrash opened? When the keys are in the middle of Rishus Harabim, and we can't bring them from Rishus Harabim to Rishus Hayochid. Also, Lekami de Rabbi Pados. Amalei and Rabbi Pados now is going to come up with a recommendation as to how we can carry the maftechas over to open the Beis Medrash, even though they're in Rishus Harabim.